Hey, Kaveh, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Bob?
Good, really good. Hey, I'm really glad you're able to accommodate and help us out today and set this up. Really looking forward to this. We have people actually at the lab right now in our boardroom who are watching the recording and watching it just in a group setting. And then we have people also checking in online. And so again, anyone who has registered for this event, we also will make the video available to them to watch later in time as well. So hey, real quick, as people are still kind of logging on right now, it is 5:01 p.m. So we'll give a few minutes for people to get logged in and comfortable. Real quick, just introducing Kaveh Shams. You are the branch manager for Zirconia, based out in Toronto, Ontario. You're also a dental technician. You and I go back a number of years. Our paths crossed a little while ago. We became pretty quick, fast friends in dentistry. I gotta ask, as looking for like a cheesy, segue or whatever, time filler. How is Toronto doing post Blue Jays World Series Game 7 loss?
Yeah. You picked a wrong topic for me.
Hey, you know what?
I rather stay quiet.
Rather stay quiet. Okay, fair enough. No, fair enough.
It was fun. It was fun. So
I can't imagine. I've got friends that are in Toronto, other friends too, and they were down. Someone to game one of the series, and just thought it was amazing, and just sounded like a great thing. And I remember being a young kid watching in '92, '93 when the Jays were winning, and those memories were great. So, anyways, real quick, so Kaveh, you've been in the dental industry for a long time. So, real quick, as people are again logging in, like give us a bit of your background.
yeah, so I'm a
So
dental technician, as you mentioned. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, you know what? Give me 1 second here. Just Hey, all right. Sorry. This is double duty for me. I'm managing the conference room too, and doing this. And so they said the volume was down. I said, well, turn the TV up. It shouldn't be a problem. So hey, real quick, give us a bit of your background in the dental space. How long have you been in dentistry, and kind of what took you down this path of the technology route that you're currently on now?
Okay, for sure. I'm a dental technician. I was graduated in 2010 in London, Lambeth College in London, UK, and I worked in a fully conventional high aesthetic lab in London, in heart of London, in Harley Street, for around 10 years before moving to Canada. So my training was all done by very conservative dentists and dental technicians. My mentor is a very conservative dental technician. So the way that I was brought up was always looking for a conservative dentistry and how to preserve dentitions and help patients with their own dentitions before going to start any type of restorations, extensive restorations. So that was the idea. And obviously at the time there was not much digital going on. I learned everything like many other technicians in a conventional way, how to cast, how to do wax up, just like you, and flasking and everything else that goes with it. But the last job that I had in London, UK, was working in a milling center. So I started the digital journey from back end of it, where everything was produced in massive scale and very accurately in complex structures. So I got into digital in 2015. I started working in the first milling center in UK with 9 heavy-duty milling machines and then 3 Zirconia. So I learned on the cam side how things are milled. I was introduced to CNC machining, and I have not a bad technical background, so I'm pretty hands-on, and it got me involved with the digital part of it. And then after that, I got into the design side of it. Again, at that time, there were not many software available. If you remember, Bob, it was TreeShape was one of the first one. Obviously, Dental Wing was the first digital software and digital scanner, and the software was not very intuitive and user friendly, but that was the only thing that we had at the time. So then I moved to Canada. I worked as a CAD/CAM specialist. Again, in 2018, it was the beginning of having 3D printers coming into dental. and we had more and more indications that could be produced by 3D printers. So I've changed my focus to 3D printers. That's where we met. We met at my previous, the company that I used to work for.
Yep.
And yeah, it was great. It was a great opportunity because I could see how I can seamlessly integrate things together. And then later on, I joined my beloved company Zirconia because I always wanted to join them from the time that I met Enrico Steger first time in London. He's an idol. So many of us know him personally. He did a lot for dental work, basically. And yeah, so in 2021, I accepted the job as a branch manager. And since then, I've been working as a branch manager and doing training, education. I do many things, everything that goes with the branch. So here we are.
And and real quick, and we'll get into this presentation right away. And so, yeah, you actually were in Edmonton. You walked into the lab here, not knowing that I was actually managing this lab when you came in here. So we were catching up. But it was also the timing was very important because we had just had a case come in to us where a doctor is looking to do a no prep porcelain veneer. And we're working through that case with the doctor. It was a new client for us. They were looking for a particular lab to do a particular type of procedure work that their previous lab wasn't able to accommodate. So we're working with them to do this. You walked in basically like 2 days after this and started talking about this idea for ultra-thin, no prep zirconia veneers. And I instantly was interested in this and thought, like, let's take a look at this and figure it out. And that's what we wanted to do today. So real quick, for anyone listening, any questions during the presentation, please put those in the Q&A section in the platform here, the website. I'll monitor those. We'll do the questions and answers after Kave's presentation. I'm going to drop off here. I'm still going to be listening, but you don't need to see my face as I look puzzled as Kave talks about his magic here. And yeah, we'll come back after the presentation, Kave. And please, again, anyone listening, any questions you guys have, please put that in the question and answer. And hey, Kave, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bob. Okay, so thank you again, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us in this afternoon. This is a very busy time for us in dental field, so I appreciate the time that you're putting in. I'm hoping that I can share something that will be valuable for you and hopefully will help you and your business to grow, and that you can help your patients even more. So just briefly about Zirconia. Zirconia is not as well known in North America, at least, as it is known in Europe, where its headquarters is. So Zirconia was established about 23 years ago by the founder of the company, Mr. Enrico Steger. He invented a machine. He's also a dental technician, so he had his own dental lab. He had his first publishing in the Quintessence magazine when he was 22 years old. So he's a very talented and skilled technician. He created this machine because he created zirconium dioxide. He was one of the first inventors of zirconium dioxide. He helped developing this material for Vita and Ivoclar, and obviously for Zirconia as well. So he has a few patents on the material that we know today as zirconium dioxide. And at the time, he didn't have any CNC machine that was capable of producing this material. So he came up with this very simple and genius invention. Similar machines were around at the time. I'm not saying that this is purely his invention, but he made it his own invention by putting his own material into it. The way that the machine works is that you put your pattern on one side and you have a probe. On the other side, you have a block of zirconia. So with the handpiece and different burrs, you have a vacuum machine in front of this device. Imagine how dusty this process would be. And you read the pattern with one hand and you mill the pattern manually using the other hand. So that's how he managed to create a zirconia structure, reproduce a zirconia structure from a pattern. Later on, he came up with, Zirconia came up with the digital workflow with the CAD/CAM machines, This is a timeline that we have. We started in 2003, and obviously this slide is old. We have to add 2 more years, and we should also add another building, which is going to be our headquarter in Canada. Our headquarter in Canada would be in Mississauga in Toronto, Ontario. The construction is started, and hopefully by next year we can provide some of our educational courses in our education center in Toronto as well. We have different offices in different parts of this planet. Our headquarter, as I mentioned, is in Europe, in Italy, in northern part of Italy, in South Tyrol. This area is, as I mentioned, is the northern part of Italy, near border to Austria. And the culture and the language, they're bilingual. They speak German, a dialect of German, and also Italian. Hence, it comes the the quality of our products and the engineering that goes behind it is obviously something that is known for German and Austrian technology. So we are also proud to say that as a company, as a dental company, we're not just a machine producer. We're not just a material producer. We produce every component that goes into this digital workflow from start to finish, from scanning, design software, implant planning software, CAM software that goes with our machines, and also milling machines, milling tools, implant components, post-processing materials such as stain and glaze that you're going to see in this webinar, how we utilize these components to achieve what we want to achieve in this aesthetic process. As you can see, this is a slide. We also produce all our machines in Italy, so everything is produced under the same roof, so we can have complete control over the quality of every component that we produce. 4 biggest arms of our company are education. We're constantly providing different courses for different audience in dental industry. We have courses for basic courses for dental technicians, basic CAD/CAM courses. We have different advanced courses, and also we have schools that you're going to see some part of it in in this slides. Excuse me. We have different schools for different training courses. We also have a military school for the dental students that are newly graduated or on the 3rd year. We invited for the week. We have them for the week. They're our guests at Zirconia. They go through a lot of training in this week. They do some community work as well. So it's a fun course, 1 week in South Tyrol that we provide. We recently finished the 723 groups of students that we call them soldiers. They finished their courses. So we've been doing this for over 10 years now. Back to the topic of today's webinar, which is aesthetic dentistry. And it is a very hot topic, as at the same time, I believe it is a sensitive topic, and it has to be analyzed and processed properly in order for it to shine and be helpful. Why are we doing anything aesthetic in dentistry is a question that anyone in our team should ask. Obviously, me as a dental technician, the doctors, everyone in this team, their main goal is to provide the best healthcare for their patient. That means that providing a solution for dysfunctional dentition, whatever problems that they have in the mouth. So we help them. We help by providing them with solutions, functional solutions. Unfortunately or fortunately, teeth are part of the parts of our body or human biology that is known to add to the aesthetic of a human anatomy. So you can imagine somebody with not good looking teeth will have an impact on his overall appearance, and that could lead to um, some other social dysfunctions, such as being shy, not being confident in front of people, chronic issues, and so forth and so on. So for me as a technician, that is one reason that I can start the process with the doctor, with the clinician that is willing to and knows how to treat this kind of problems that are not entirely functional. The person can chew, the person can talk, the person can pronounce every word more or less correctly, and they're not purely happy with their appearance. So, in order to help them with this issue, how can we get into the case? How can we process the case in a way that has minimum negative impact in their health? When we say negative impact, what are we talking about? We all know that enamel is, as soon as you lose your enamel, is gone. The process is irreversible. So if you trim away the enamel of a healthy tooth, that enamel is gone. It will not grow back. So that is a very sensitive part of this process. How can we minimize the need of reducing that much enamel of a healthy tooth for the patient, just in case in the future, if for any reason this process is this planning that we did for this patient is not successful, or they change their mind, people change their mind, something that they want today, you want piercing today, tomorrow and next year you don't want it. You do a tattoo and 2 years later you don't want that tattoo. I'm sorry, this is not the best comparison, but we're talking about something aesthetic, and sometimes they like white teeth, and this is a very normal thing that you see today, and tomorrow they don't want it. So how can we prevent the whole process to be something unsuccessful with the very minimum success rate, just because of the psychology behind it? At the same time, we can minimize the negative impact. So now that we have this in mind, we're going to see different aspects of planning an aesthetic case. We're going to talk about 2D and 3D data acquisition. We're going to talk about precise color matching. What is the color matching? How we can improve on color matching, because that's very important aspect of an aesthetic restoration. How can we preserve the natural dentition color of the patient, or provide them with something very natural? And then in the end, we're going to talk about the material that we produce as our own zirconia. This is a Preta zirconia. That's what we call our brand of zirconia. You're going to see the differences between different types of material that we produce, and why we use different material for different cases. And we're going to go through a couple of case studies, and obviously in the end we're going to see if you have any questions. We can go through your questions and have a question and answer in the end. Okay, so data acquisition. Taking a good photo is always very important when it comes to any aesthetic restoration. I am a photographer. I do photography as a hobby on the side, and I like photography. As a technician and as even a clinician, if you want to produce a good quality work, you see it online. Most of those labs or those dentists that they do a great work, they also do a really good photography. So this is a really important part of our process. Thanks to the technology, it is not very difficult these days to achieve a really good photo, or take a really good photo, even with the phone in your hand. So the days that you needed the DSLR to produce a really decent photo is gone. But we shouldn't get carried away with the ease of use of this technology. I open a small space for this photography because it's very important. It's very easy, basic tips how you can use your mobile phone in different situations in order to get a photo that can be used. I get so many photos, and I go to the labs, and we get so many photos that the dentist or clinicians or assistant took from the patient for aesthetic cases, but the photo is not really usable for very simple reasons. The lighting of the environment, photography is all about light. If you're taking a photo, if it's possible, again, we're living in Canada, so days are short now in winter. If it's possible, you could use the daylight, it would be amazing. If you're using the ambient light of the room, make sure that in that room you have the daylight color uh, lights installed in that room. They're widely available everywhere. I think the daylight is 5,200 Kelvin. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that will help you get a color very correctly. Um, the other thing is when you hold your phone, most phones now they have two, three, sometimes four lenses on the back. So you see, and you ask a question, why do you have different lenses? These different lenses work automatically, or the camera uses, or the phone uses them automatically when you change your distance to the subject. So if you go too close, it's going to use the macro lens, and it's going to warp and you know change this aspects of the perspective of your picture, so it's not very useful. The best distance is 1.5 meter away from your top from your object, and then hold your phone as vertical as possible in front of their face, not on the top, on higher level or lower level, and not at the angle. This couple of tips will definitely increase the quality of your photography, even by using your own mobile phone. So that's for the second, I mean, 2D photography, just conventional photography, which is very helpful. And I always suggest, if you're dealing with patients that are in middle age or older age and they require aesthetic work, I learned this from my mentor. He used to ask for their wedding photos, for the older photos when they were younger, when they had brought a smile in those photos, if they could provide those old photos. The best reference for us technicians and clinicians is Mama Nature. The best we can do is to copy Mama Nature. So this is something that at least will help you see where this patient teeth were. Yes, you can adjust and improve time to time, but usually that would be a good reference to have their older photos. Um, and that's for the conventional photography. And obviously you can use this by tools that we have in our software that we use for the design. We call them a smile design, a smile creator. Many software today have this aspect. And you can align your 3D mesh to the 2D picture using these tools in this software, and you have kind of an alignment. Then using these tools that are based on harmonious alignment of the tooth. You can see the sizes of the interiors. You can see how they're aligned with the skeletal midline and anatomical midline of the patient. And it can give you some sort of indication on how you can improve things in this area. Furthermore, you can use a 3D scanner. What you see here is a face a scanner by Zirconia. We call that a face hunter. Basically, is a camera and a scanner, uh, which helps you get a 3D mesh of the patient's face. Today, Zirconia was the first company that came up with this device 10 years ago. Today, we have many more companies. They're coming up with their own. They came up with their own devices. They're fantastic. Obviously, I'm here to advocate for Zirconia, but I'm also a dental technician. I go to trade shows and I see different scanners. The face scanners today are very easy to use. Many companies have an open system of face scanners that you can really achieve really good pictures with them. How you use those pictures is entirely up to you. The way that Zirconia uses the anatomical pictures, a 3D scan of the patient, is not entirely for aesthetic purposes. We use anatomical features of the patient, such as alatragus plane, which is parallel to the oroclusal plane, in order to transfer the upper jaw position to a virtual articulator. So that is one purpose of using a face scanner. Again, using anatomical features, soft tissue anatomical features of the patient, and transferring them into a digital articulator. The secondary use of any face scanner, at least for Zircon, is the aesthetic part of it, where you can use it to create a 3D scan of the patient, just like this, and then align it in your, or bring it into your workflow and use it as, obviously, a functional side of it is to uh, re-articulate or realign the jaws into your virtual articulator. That's one way of doing it. And then obviously you can see that in our software, you can even bring your CT scan data and align it with extraoral scan of the patient. You can have basically every scan that you have in the virtual articulator and make them ready for the design. So in our software, which we call modifier, you can attach those pictures together and create something dynamic, this, as you can see here. This dynamic movement is also a very good tool when you have your patient next to you. You can create different setups for them, and you can show them with different, you can show them this setups with different anatomies. And you can even move, as you could see in this video, you could move the teeth forward or backward and see the lip support. You could see all the effects that you will have when you're modifying the setup in the mouth. So again, it's a very good tool to see the outcome or predict the outcome before you even touch the patient or start the preparation. So these pre-planning procedures or pre-planning tools that we have can help us achieve a more reliable or more consistent result. And in any aesthetic dentistry or restoration, the worst thing that can happen is the redo. So we really don't want to have the patient coming back and mentioning that this is not what I want to have, or I wanted to have, or this is not what you showed me. In my time in the lab, it was a lot harder for technicians and a lot even harder for the patients to even begin to imagine what they're going to get. We used to do a wax up on the model, and they used to see the models like a study models with the wax up on them. How could they even imagine this is even nice on their face or not? But now with these digital tools, we are capable of having a really reliable prediction of what the outcome would be before even getting into the case. Now we get to the second part of the process, and that would be the shade matching. Vita, as we know, was one of the first companies that came up with a style of measuring the shade or analyzing the shades of the dentition of a human being. So today, we all are familiar with the very traditional Vita shade that starts from A1 to D4, and obviously now we have bleach shades, 3 bleach shades. We, Zircon, have 3 bleach shades. Some other companies have different shades, and obviously we have the 3D Master Shade Guide as well. The first point that I want to mention is that every type of zirconia that you see today, and if you're a dental lab or if you're a dentist, the zirconia that you receive from your dental lab are produced by one company. The fact that they call their material, or we call our material A1, it doesn't mean that it's an exact resemblance of A1 in Vita shade. So the first point that we always advise the customers or labs or partners, and also the dentists that work with us, is that it's best if you use the shade guide from Zircon. Why? Because we make the shade guides from the same material that you're going to use the restorations for, or put your restorations with. So it is very important that it resembles exactly the shade of the restoration. For that reason, we recommend that you definitely use the shade guides from the company that you're using the zirconia for. So to make it even easier for shade matching or shade matching process to be easier for the clinician or technician at some point, some areas, we created different anatomies for our shade guides as well. So you have shade guides with lower teeth, lower anatomy, upper and posterior as well. As you can see in this picture, for the posterior shades, we have the posterior, for the lower, and also for the anterior. We can also produce a customized shade guide for the lab and the clinic if they're using a different method for layering. We have so many dentists that they love to have the layered zirconia as their restorations. Obviously, we have ceramics that are very capable of producing a layered zirconia restoration, and that will help them have a customized shade guide with their own ceramic on it. If they're using ivoclar, they can apply the ivoclar on it, and they can have the customized shade guide. The zirconia that we have at Zirconzan, we produce at Zirconzan, are Pretal, Preta 2, Preta 2 dispersive, Preta 3 dispersive, 4 anterior, and 4 anterior dispersive. Dispersive, first thing, it is or equivalent of saying multi-layer. The reason we don't use the multi-layer is because multi-layer has a definition in zirconia production. Dispersive means that the layers are placed in a way that you have a very good translucency on the top, least amount of strength on the top, and then as you move to the cervical part, you have more strength and you have less translucency. So it resembles the natural coloring of the teeth. Preta was the first thing that we produced. It is a monolithic zirconia. It's non-shaded, so it's not a pre-shaded zirconia. That means that you need to do color liquid or use the color liquid or color it in the green stage in order to get the color that you want to produce in the end. Preta 2 and 2 dispersive, in the other hand, are shaded, so you can have them by regular shades like A1 and A2. As you move from Preta 1 to Preta 4, the strength of your material drops a little bit, but the translucency goes higher. So it depends on what you want to use the material. We have a different, or we have a selection, or we have a suggestion. So if you're going for single crowns on the interior section, definitely something with more translucency would be helpful. You can go with Preta 4. And if you're going for a full arch zirconia, monolithic zirconia, you might want to go with Preta 2, 2 dispersive, or even Pretal. So those are the differences between the material. You can see the translucency and its relationship to the flexural strengths. This is for Pretal or first material. You have to extensively use the color liquid in the green stage before sintering in order to get these colors in the end. Then we get to Preta 2, as you can see, Preta 2 dispersive, which has more translucency on the edge, on the incisal edges, and obviously has a little bit less strength on the incisal edge as well. And then Preta 3 and Preta 4 anterior, which are very suitable for single unit restorations. The way that the flexural strength works with the translucency, as you can see, we have 670 megapascal. It is important because we're talking about zirconia, and some of you will have this question in their mind of what is the difference between this strength of zirconia compared to glass ceramic. So minimum strength that you're going to get with your zirconia is 670. That is around 25% higher than the glass ceramic. So that's one difference between zirconia restoration and glass ceramic restorations. Again, in terms of translucency, the translucency definition is amount of light that passes through an object. So Preta 1 has the least amount of translucency, and Preta 4 has the most amount of translucency. So why am I going through this? Because if we are going to get the case done, depending on the situation with that particular case, we humans have different shades, different conditions, and each patient represent a different situation and scenario. So if your patient has darker shades, you want to have something to block out the unwanted color. So for that reason, you might want to go for the Preta 2 or even Pretau for that type of veneering, because you want to have opacity to block out undesirable color in the background. And vice versa, if the patient has a good color, but the shape and anatomy are the issues, you can go with a more translucence. If you have a younger patient, younger patients have more translucency, more life in their enamel. So you can change to Preta 4. So that's why I'm bringing this up. So if at some point we're going to do this work together, these are aspects that needs to be considered. And this is an analogy that we came up with. If you have a glass of milk on the left side and then glass of water on the right side, and you have a combination of percentage of water and milk mixture, then Preta will stay in 30% of, and then Preta 4 stays on the 60% of the translucency. So the third part of the webinar is about the case studies that we've done. Interestingly enough, the first case that we've done is one of my colleagues, Alex. He is a person that helped us, very young and talented, a skilled technician um, that we are proud to have in our company. He's only 23 years old, but he's a very good technician, and he started working at Zirconia like 5 years ago. Obviously, he entered Zirconia through the military school, and then at age 16, when he was 16 years old, he had a bike accident, and he smashed his central, as you can see. And his father is a dental technician, and he owns the lab in Austria, and he has many dentist friends. So one of his good friends advised him to put something temporary because he was still growing. So by the time that he is in adulthood, they could do something permanent. So he kept this temporary veneer for years. And then at some point, as you can see in this picture, he started having some issues around the gum, and the shape and the color, the coloration of the this veneer was getting undesirable. So he was concerned about his appearance. So he started working on his own case with the doctor that we have at Zirconia. The way that we started the case, we start everything in Archive. Archive is the data registry platform that we have. We went through the scanning. Obviously, we didn't see the scanning here. One of the most difficult restorations, in my opinion, is when you're restoring one single tooth. And that is difficult because you have to resemble the anatomy or recreate the anatomy of the opposing or the other tooth on the other side, and also you have to match the shade. Shade and shape needs to be matched. So as you can see here, the first part of the design is to select the passive insertion. We consider the margin lines in this passive insertion. We make sure that this veneer will going to be cemented properly with the proper passive insertion, so we don't create unwanted undercut for ourselves. In terms of the thickness of the margin, thanks to the density of the zirconia, you can go as low as 0.2 millimeter thickness, which is a really, honestly, very thin object. It is very difficult to work with these objects, but at the same time, it provides us with what we want in minimally invasive restoration. So you can go as low as 0.2 millimeter on the margins, as you can see in this picture. And then to make the cementation process a bit easier for clinicians, we can apply a secondary cement gap on certain area of the dentition. So we have an extra layer of 40 micron for certain areas for better cementation. And again, this is a bit deeper on how much additional cement gap you will need for certain areas. Obviously, we teach everything, or every aspect of this process in our courses with all the details for the clinician and also the technician. So what you see today here is just an overview of how the process is done. And then obviously, if you guys are interested, we can always organize courses where you can go deeper and you can see all the aspects of the designs and also clinical preparations. Now that the design is done, again in this picture you can see the veneers are 0.2 millimeter. We sintered them. We use or a stain and glaze kit. You can use different stain and glaze kit. Obviously, there's no limitation on what you can use. Your technicians are very masters. Our friends in the lab are very good technicians. Their ceramist is very capable, so I'm sure they can do magic with their own stain and glaze, and they can use a stain and glaze from Zirconia as well. In this cross section, you can see again a very thin margin line on this Zirconia veneers that is barely noticeable. So again, that's the advantage of using a Zirconia veneer versus a glass ceramic veneer that has a thicker margin because of the material and the way that it's made. Again, in this picture on the left side is the tooth without any veneer, and on the right side you can see it with the veneer, a cross section of the tooth. The clinical process or procedure, and that's the first questions that I always get from our clinicians is what type of cement we use and why do you think it's working, or we are concerned about the cementation. I always answer this way that the days that the cements were made for glass ceramic is over. We have a new material and we have different cementation. And we have different companies that now produce cements or chemicals or material for zirconia. So if you are using a cement that is not made for zirconia, please ask your provider or supplier to supply you with the zirconia. We have some recommendation, obviously. We use Tokoyama ESTM 2 by Tokoyama. That's a very good cement. And then Panavia has zirconia cementation material as well. Here we're simply going through the process. The cementation is done. Obviously, the first try was a little bit unsuccessful because, as you can see, the cementation wasn't done properly, and his veneer is a little bit unparalleled and a bit lower. But later on, he corrected his work, and obviously now he's working well. The second case, that is my own case. I'm a grinder. I've and been doing grinding and bruxing my teeth all my life. So I lost a lot of incisal edge of my teeth, and I personally didn't think that this would be a good case for me or a good process for me. I was never intended to have veneers, but when I saw that we are going to promote this concept, as a technician, I was interested to go through the process. So I asked if I could be a case I could use. They can use my own case for this procedure. So I went through it just to see if that is something that I would advise to other technicians and dentists to do. It's been 3 years now. This December is the third year that I had my veneers. I've done the 3 to 3, so canine to canine. The process was similar to what you saw. So this selecting the margin lines, obviously selecting an individual passive insertion for each veneer, and then going through the design process for them. I also created a snap on a smile, a mock-up for myself. That's another beauty that this software has. The software that we have at Zirconia and our friend can use it, is that it's capable of producing you with the snap on a smile or mock-up. using the ideal setup, you can go through the setup and modification of your dentition, and then at some point you can produce a snap on a smile that you can give to your patient. They can wear, they can go to their family, friends, and see if that is something they want to get. Again, another good tool if you're going through this kind of restoration, giving them a mock-up, let them try it. They can never come back to you and say, this is not what you promised me. This is going to be a very helpful tool for you to achieve a good result and sustain success every time that you go through a case. So the time of cementation, actually the cementation process can be very stressful, especially for dentists or clinicians that haven't done many of these aesthetic cases. So we always advise our partners, the labs that we work with, to support the clinicians and dentists, especially on the first and second cases. If they can send a technician, if they can provide them with the cementation guide, now these days are very easy. Even conventionally, they can make something so that the dentist can feel confident at the time of cementation. They can put them all in, get the feeling of it. One thing that we shouldn't forget is that there is not definite line. There's no margin line as just like any other conventional restoration. So it's very difficult to find the margin or to find where that veneer is going to be placed correctly. So having this support from a lab would be an amazing, uh, again, amazing tool for us to make sure that we're achieving something great for our patients. Yeah, so in the end, again, as I'm a Bruxer, I advise everybody to provide their patients with the night guard to protect their veneers. Again, we're talking about a very, very thin veneer, and these are again uh, can be very fragile, but at the same time they have the strength to go through the regular daily life of the patient. In the end, we went through the nesting of it and we produced it. It's very simple stain and glazing, as you can see here. Nothing crazy. I kept my color, natural color. I didn't go anything brighter, so it looks very natural. And to be honest, if I don't say anything, nobody will know that I have veneers, and that is the whole purpose of producing a veneer. Is that it adds to the harmony of the patient's anatomy. At the same time, it doesn't really screams in your face. So that is something that we want to achieve. We went through the cementation. As you can see, we did one side of the restorations, and then we went through the other side of the restorations, and we did the cementation, and in the end, that is with the night guard. And yeah, that was a couple of case studies that we've done. And recently, I think we've done, in our companies only, we've done 110 cases. These are just members of staff, people from their family, people that were part of our company or somehow were related to our company. And we have so many other clients that have started doing this. I have a dentist that works in Ontario, and he works with one of other labs that we work with. And obviously, the whole goal is that we expand this collaboration with you guys, with Bob and his team, and we can take this to the next level. Okay, Bob, my presentation is over. If you want to come back and we can maybe have a discussion with our friends, and yeah, we take it from there.
No, hey, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, very interesting. It's great that you're actually living proof that this works. you're day in, day out. And again, being a Bruxer, so you're putting these veneers to the test. So again, just real quick, just looking at the Q&A field. So if anyone has any questions, there's a few questions that have come in. I want to kind of take time to go over. And yeah, we'll definitely get things going here. So I guess real quick, for you, Kaveh. I'm just pulling up my screen here so I can see it. You talk about the material, talking about the zirconia that you're doing with the you guys have developed for this procedure for these ultra thin veneers. Why is this so important? Honestly, right now in the dental space, there's so many companies that are using low cost materials. There's so many other companies that are making knockoffs of different branded materials, and really it is becoming very commodity based. So in order to have information and materials that are outstanding and to that next level, like what about your zirconia makes this successful and viable, whereas some other material might not be suitable for such an application?
A very good question, actually, Bob. And again, for us as technicians and everybody in dental field, we have this question: what's the difference between this material from this company and the other one? Why should I pay that much for this company and this material and not that much for the other one? The way that I digested this question, and I went through the whole process of production of zirconia when I go to Italy, and I've seen it is very interesting, actually. The process of creating this zirconium is zirconium dioxide powder. Obviously, they have to mine the basic minerals, and then they have to condense this mineral, mix it, and then condense this mineral using hydraulic jacks or hydraulic presses. And the more you press this material, the more condensed it will get. So let's say a 12 millimeter disc, zirconia disc from such and such company will weigh 140 grams. The same size disc from Zirconzan will weigh around 200 grams. I'm just giving you an example. So we have more material condensed in our disc. What it does, it helps with controlling the shrinkage of material, zirconia. For those friends that they're not familiar with the processes, we always oversize, we mill or structure oversized, and then when we put them in the furnace, they shrink. So the shrinkage factor, which plays a very crucial role in the quality, overall quality of the zirconia, it depends on the density of the material. So the more condensed the material is, the more consistent the shrinkage and more predictable the shrinkage will be. And also the strengths. So the more porous material, when the molecules bond together, they don't bond a very strong structure. But when your material is more condensed, then the final product is also more condensed and stronger. So it affects on both sides, on the strengths and also the shrinkage control.
So just so to add on to that, because I'm curious, this is your world in regards to the materials that are being made and offered in the market. What would you say is the range, the span from like a top end premium zirconia versus like something that's just simpler, cheaper, this a knockoff or a copy of a different brand? Like what density differences are, like how the strength differences, like what is the risk for any restoration based on the difference in the material properties that could be used?
Again, another good question. We have the market flooded with a lot of, nothing against Chinese goods, flooded with lower quality products with much lower price tag. The effects that using this material will have or may have, it really depends on how they come up after 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years, if they survive that long. Biggest problem that I predict they will have is fracture.
Mm-hmm.
Fracture of your crowns or veneers is something very regular if you use lower quality product. Why? Because zirconium dioxide works like a glass. So human mouth, we drink hot coffee, hot beverage, and we drink cold drinks as well. So there's a lot of change of temperature in our mouth. We bite on heavy and hard things. So the tooth is not just an aesthetic thing. It has to be functional. It has to be strong enough to go through that mastication forces that we have in your mouths. So the fracture is one of them. If they're not condensed enough, if they have a very rough surface, they might actually grind down the opposing tooth. So these are all the things that can happen if you're using a lower quality material. Obviously, this could be the outcome of those. But in terms of, let's say these are just things that we don't even know because we didn't see the patients after 3 years. But the main thing is that the density of the zirconia allows us to mill this structure in that thickness. Those other material, because they're not that condensed, and zirconia disc are like chalk, so they're fragile.
Mhm.
As soon as the milling machine goes to that kind of thickness, around 0.5, 0.6 millimeter, they start having chipping around the margin. So the milling process will not be successful just because those materials are more fragile and they cannot withstand the milling process. So you cannot even get them to the sintering stage as well.
Which is good because it means the case is never going to fail in the patient's mouth because it's not even going to get there.
That's the good thing. You are right. Yeah.
Now, like I said, this whole conversation between you and I started earlier this year. It started when you came in, and we had just done a no prep veneer, but sorry, not a porcelain veneer, and the conversation was fresh in my mind. Take me through the strength, because obviously a concern with milling anything that thin is, in this case, we're talking about the idea of like a no prep or extremely minimal prep veneer that would retain as much natural tooth structure as possible, versus say someone who wanted an aesthetic case, a glass ceramic veneer that would require material to be reduced for it to fit. How does the ultra thin zirconia stack up in regards to durability compared to the traditional glass ceramic veneer?
Well, if they're done properly, let's be honest, if they're done properly, they both can provide us with very good results. Before zirconia came in to the market, we had glass ceramic. Before the milling came in, we had glass ceramic. We had different techniques to produce those ones. So they've been around and they're known. We know how to treat them. Our dentists know how to cement them accurately and properly. But at the same time, they have some issues as well. So they're on the strength side or aspect, they're weaker than zirconia. Even the zirconias that are not made by Zirconzan are providing a better strength, over 600 megapascal, which were for, or glass ceramic is between 400 to 500 megapascal. That's one reason. And then glass ceramic during time it gets more fragile. We don't see this effect with zirconia. Zirconia can withstand time, a longer time compared to glass ceramic. And obviously, the finishing and the process is very similar. So the main aspect or advantage of using zirconia is the ability to mill it thin, and also utilize this strength that zirconia has over glass ceramic as well.
And I guess too, like in this example too, we're talking about taking this to the extreme, or to the lengths of the capabilities of the material and the technology. So we're talking about the thinnest possible veneer in this case. I'm assuming it's also possible too to kind of go somewhere in the middle where you do mill a slightly thicker veneer that would then increase the strength of that zirconia veneer, but still requiring less reduction than say a traditional veneer. And so that could be an option for the practice as well.
Exactly, I agree. Yes, that's definitely an option.
Now, I think the big question here, the question I'm getting a few times here, is just in regards to the aesthetics. Obviously, when zirconia came out, monoshade zirconia, doctors with their CERECs in their practice milling, it was single unit posterior. They commented of being very ugly, very anesthetic, but again, they're functional. So as long as they're in the back and no one is going to see them, they're okay. Now we're talking about the aesthetic zone. You talked about the importance of a person's smile, the confidence that it brings them. How can people expect to have can they expect to have the aesthetics with your material through this process that would match that of a traditional veneer case?
That aspect is again very crucial, as you mentioned, and it is thought through these courses that we provide. So again, for the clinicians, we have different aspects that we can teach them: how to do the color matching, how to do the preparation, how to do the cementation. And for our side of the work, the technical side, we make sure that we teach you how to deal with different scenarios. So if the patient has this kind of background, if this is what we're receiving right now, how can we treat each case individually? These are also thought through these courses that we provide, but in a very short, brief sentences is that every case needs to be analyzed differently. We also go through the communication that the clinician and technician needs to do during the course of the treatment. So these are aspects, as you say, it's very important, and it has to be analyzed during the course and with deeper knowledge of what is done and why it is done in that stage.
And hey, a small little plug here for the team we have here. I've got full confidence in our team to be able to make sure that these things absolutely pop. So
Absolutely.
it's good to know that people can expect that high quality result and that aesthetic result as well.
Sure.
Here's another question real quick. Why not use the VitaPen 3D shade guide? Why are we using an older shade guide? And I'll put older in quotation marks there for you.
Yes. I think Zirconia is also coming up with their own 3D shade, but the reason we didn't go to the 3D is that we're still using the same material that you see in this shade guide. So we have to obviously revolutionize our way of producing zirconia again. Now that we have this group of people, I can tell you that we are working on different types of material that can be integrated with that 3D master shade guide as well. But these shade guides that you see are exact resemblance of the material that we're producing right now. So maybe in the future, I mean, not maybe, we are producing different lines of zirconia. You will see in the next couple of years, a few months, we're going to release the new one. And for those material, we should be able to use the 3D master shade guide as well. But for now, we're just using the conventional way.
Okay. And then what about for the burrs? What are the recommendations for the burrs, and how smooth for the preps?
Is that the burrs for the preparation, or is that for the milling side of it?
I believe for the preparation side, because this would have come from a doctor.
That is, again, I won't be the right person to ask this question, as I'm a technician. I won't be the right person to answer this question, but I can definitely follow up with our team to see if they have any recommendations for the clinical side. Again, if you get to the point that we're going to have the course, you will go through all those preparation courses and training as well.
No, absolutely perfect. And I guess in regards to a couple more questions here from the group. I'm just kind of, there's a few couple that have been repeated here. I guess in regards to getting started, let's say, quite often I've done a few of these in my day, and everyone's excited from listening to this information. They want to get started tomorrow. They're going to find that case, that ideal patient to get the ball rolling. What is the process for a doctor, for a practice, to identify a good candidate, to start communicating with us at the lab, to bring you into the mix? Like, when a doctor wants to start offering this in the practice, what needs to happen, and what does that step and that timeline look like as well?
Again, that's fantastic question. This minimally invasive veneering is not the process that we advise for every case. If you have a case that is extensively, let's say that the interiors are very crooked, and there's no way that you can correct that with the minimally invasive, then you have to go with the proper preparation and the conventional way of restoring those veneers. If the case is not extensive, again, my own case is the case that I won't advise a clinician to do, because I'm a risky patient. If I could crack 2 of my own molars, I can crack anything else. So for that reason, I shouldn't be a good case. The reason I did it is to see if it will withstand this aggressive bruxing that I do. Oh, okay, I have to wear my night guard, but again, something to consider. These are not the case that we're talking about the patient. If they are in this side of the spectrum, maybe they're not the right candidate. But yes, you have to go through each cases, and as soon as you see that this case can provide you with, first of all, the psychology of the patient. A lot of psychology goes with this. How you, I'm sorry that I'm using this word, sell the case. We're clinicians and dentists, technicians, but we have to, and you have to see how the person is receiving it. Sometimes not doing a case is the best thing you can do, honestly. By picking every case that comes to you, sometimes you pick something that you regret it later. And I've seen this kind of cases. So be confident. See if your patient is confident enough for what they're going to get, and then if they're interested, you can get them to this like aesthetic software. Bob and his team can get into showing you some uh, a snap on a smile, maybe producing a snap on a stage by stage. So when you go through the first stage, they're confident, you want to get them into it, then you can get some pictures, you can do some smile design with our team or friends, and then after that you can get to creating a snap on a smile, and that's the final stage, and then you're sure that that case will go through.
Real quick, I know a lot of our doctor friends don't like that the word sales. They don't want to be thought of that they're selling their patients. I always try to say we're educating. It's all about educating and educating them to make the right decision that they
This is
want.
very, very North American style of saying you have to sell that idea.
But hey, everything in life's a sales pitch. Come on.
Yes,
but here we are. We're educating, and so educating the patient on again the process, what it's going to take, and helping them through that so that they can choose whether or not this is case that they want. I guess lastly, real quick, in regards to the cementation guide you talked about, is there a way to get a copy of that, or is that just something that is discussed, in time when the case is coming due?
Yes, two ways to do that. Conventionally, we used to create it with make it with the putty. So you put all the veneers on the model, and then you create a little putty in the on the bottom side of it. You get an imprint of the teeth with the veneers on them, and that would be a very simple way of doing it. Now, the same way is possible, but you do it in the digital world. So you imprint virtually those teeth on an object, and then you can print that, or you mill that, whatever device that you have, and that can be used as a guide. So the patient will, or the doctor will, insert that guide inside, and we will see where the veneers are sitting. And when you remove the jig, you will see that they are in that line. So it is an indication. So the eyes of the clinician will get used to where they should be, and then they go through the segmentation. These are just giving them more confidence, especially if you're doing like 6 units. It's very difficult not to lose the definition of the lines and everything else. So again, these aspects are important and can help the clinician have a better segmentation process.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, Kaveh, I really do appreciate you taking the time tonight. I know it's 6 o'clock here in Edmonton. You're 2 hours ahead of us already, so it's well into your evening. Anyone that's looking to get introduced and have more conversations, please reach out to us. We'll make this video again available for people attending so they can watch it and take notes and revisit it. And again, this is something we're looking forward to. We're excited to bring it to the market. I think this is just a great option for the right patient, for the right office. And hopefully we can help you guys out in the future. So, and hey, Kaveh, maybe next year, 2026, being optimistic, hopefully we can actually get here and do this again in person at the lab. It would be great to have you back here again.
Absolutely. I would love to. Thank you very much, Bob. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Kaveh. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
Bye for now.